And we're live. Good morning, thrice good morning. Chris Grimes is me, but very, very importantly, this is the lovely Christine Marsh. I've been visited by a queen, I feel. She was delivered moments ago by TJ, who is a Sierra Leonean minder stroke taxi driver.
Yes.
And you arrived wearing your resplendent sunflower yellow.
I thought it was appropriate.
It was, and it is a beautiful, glorious May Day. It is the 1st of May.
Mm-hmm.
Mayday, but we need no help because this is going to be a glorious, glorious episode. I've prepared, I'm just going to blow some happy smoke at you. First of all, I'm going to reveal your slide. So if you're watching this is the beauty that is Christine Marsh. You've got a website which is The Christine Marsh, and you really, truly are the Christine Marsh. I've been noticing you on LinkedIn for quite some time, and I got back in touch with you a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to blow some happy smoke at you. I've prepared 4 superlatives. You are the irrepressible, incomparable, indomitable, and unstoppable. You are Christine Marsh. You became a model at 84.
Yeah.
And you are on a mission. Cop a load of this. By the time I'm 90, this is now me speaking in your words, and you can do this in a moment. I will let you in a minute. I'm just really positioning how exciting this is.
It sounds very flattering, so keep going.
Well, I'll just go back a step. You're a business change facilitator from C-suite level only and below very rarely, international speaker and author. We're going to talk about your book as well, but you're on a trailblazing mission. By the time I'm 90, I want to be the key global influencer on living life to the full for the over 50s.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for a very special Legacy Life Reflections episode of the Good Listening To Show, Stories of Distinction and Genius, Christine Marsh. The sound of one man clapping to bring you in. So how's morale? How was your journey down with TJ? Talk about TJ if you'd like to too. Let's just get you into the show.
Well, TJ knows that if we have to be somewhere at a certain time, I go a bit ballistic if he's late, and he's only ever done that once, and he'll never ever do it again. He said he's never seen me angry, but it was for a wonderful luncheon in Claridge's, and to go into a preset table setting as the late arrival was the most embarrassing thing I've ever.
Although there is currency in being enigmatically late, but obviously you're a stickler for timekeeping.
I think it was Alice Gavinska, who is a 5th generation healer. Her books are in I don't know how many languages. She actually sorted me out after a very nasty car accident, and she's taken care of me ever since. So, but she gives these luncheons in Claridge's. They're brunches actually, and women are invited. There's guest speakers talking about, basically your health and keeping things going. And she also has these books that I rely on about owning your own energy.
Yes.
So energy to me is crucial.
You have so many beautiful quotes pertaining to energy. Mm-hmm. There's a lovely analogy about being a matchbox.
Yes.
And you can please do talk about the box of matches,
the
ignition of fire. And then one of your quotes that I loved was the idea that in order to shine, you need to burn.
Right.
We'll get on to all of that. But first of all, just to go back a step, if people don't have a frame of reference for the beauty that is the Christine Marsh on your extraordinary mission to go way beyond 90 and beyond, there's nothing stopping you. You're totally unstoppable. But what got you on the trailblazing path that you now find yourself on?
I think because my background had been corporate life, and I'd gone from an operational background, new product development, right the way through. So I understood the supply chain. And then I got really annoyed that training did not appear to be matching what we needed. Now, that's no reflection on the wonderful guy who was running it, Richard Shepherd, who's been one of my stalwart supporters and is still there rooting for me anytime he can. But the key thing was that it had to be relevant, and I felt I could make a contribution. And, they told me I wasn't suitable. I couldn't do the transition from operational to learning and development. Now, you don't tell me what I can't do, Chris. You really don't.
I think we know that.
That's not the best way to...
Hence, indomitable.
Yeah, come on. I thought, well... Anyway, they wouldn't listen. So I resigned, went off and got this glamorous job, going to Geneva and working with Elf Oil and all sorts of stuff. I missed the people, the retail is a hard world, and I felt there was so much we could do, or I could help contribute to Richard in looking at 3,997 people and breaking it down into digestible chunks. And together, when I went back after 3 months, my chair was now in learning and development. And when Richard was talking about what it was like when he heard I was actually going to join him, and oh my God, can I cope with this?
A bit of an I told you so. There you are. You're back in exactly the chair you'd already decided you were going to sit down on.
He's been a fantastic mate. He came to my book launch.
Yep.
You have someone who sees talent in other people and gives you the opportunity to shine.
And your book, we're going to talk about, we're going to do a dedicated section about your good book, but Flashpoint Transformation. Yes. I know there's the story of the matchbox is in there, yeah. And it's about life's choices. Yes. It's a collective compendium of your wisdom over the 8 decades you've been doing what you do beautifully. And what's really compelling is are you ready to jump or waiting to be pushed?
Yeah.
And this is what we're also going to be talking about.
I think the main quote with that is change is inevitable. And the people who sit hoping that life's going to go on, especially where we are at the moment, it isn't. It's fast, it's vibrant, it's scary. Yes. And, that's not going to happen. So change is inevitable. Stress is manageable, and a lot of people don't understand that. There's a lot of people saying, stress is not good for you. I'm sorry, but that's our survival.
Yes.
We need that adrenaline to get ourselves out of trouble.
Yeah.
The problem is we used to be able to go and punch somebody. We're not supposed to do that anymore. They were upsetting us. So we repress stress, and we're in a stress state of adrenaline fix.
And talking of change and adaptability, one of your biggest changes came just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the death of your husband.
No, that was after.
Okay.
That was literally working on that one. But the key thing to me was life's choices and the percentage of people, if I could help them. Now, that is just a taster. I don't go into my business. Everyone thought I was going to write a business book. And I thought, no, this is just me sharing some tips and techniques and provoking people to think. What are their life's choices? Are they ready to jump, or are they going to wait? But stress is manageable. What I love is misery is optional. I worked with one client in Birmingham. The company had been taken over by a French company, and that wasn't going down very well. And the problem was that the one guy was trying, everyone's doom and gloom and down in the dark places, and it was life dreadful. And he said he would go home, take it out on the wife, kids, kit the dog, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And
come back in with a smile, say, right, today's another day. And we went in smiling, and everyone said, what the bloody hell's the matter with you today? Don't you know how dreadful it is? How can you possibly see positive in anything that we're doing? So misery is optional.
And we're getting beautiful quotes already. We're suffusing this with just delicious quotes. There is a favorite inspirational quote, invocation at the end, which we'll come on to. So if I may, I'm going to get you on the open road of the structure of the Good Listening To show. Mm-hmm. And the invitation is to go where you like, when you like, as deep as you like, whenever it occurs, as I take you through the journey.
Okay.
If you've not seen the show before, where have you been? We're about 250 episodes in, but there's going to be a clearing a tree, a lovely juicy storytelling exercise called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's going to be some alchemy, some gold, a couple of random squirrels, a cheeky bit of Shakespeare, a golden baton, and a cake. So it's all to play for. Yes, nom 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 nom. I'm glad you're looking forward to the cake.
No breakfast, so that is essential.
And I couldn't resist but do a Legacy Life Reflections show with you. It's so not over, because you're trailblazing to 90 and beyond. Yeah. But it's just really exciting to get someone that is all about zest and energy and how you apply that energy. Here you are at 84 and a model at 84 too. And
Chris, can I just add, the 50 was when, in the boardroom where I was, after a very hostile takeover, there was a stuffed eagle. And one of the directors laughed, and he said, that's what happens to the women round here. They end up as stuffed birds.
Oh!
And when I was coming up to 50, I knew I was going to be made redundant.
Wow.
And sure enough.
Wow.
So you're past your sell-by date in retail, best before dates, those kind of things.
And that's why you've specifically picked it's not over, and it is almost like the next phase of life from 50
Yes.
plus.
Yeah.
Yes. And what happened to that particular individual when he said that to you?
At that time, I had been one of the survivors of a hostile takeover bid, and there were only 30 of us. And I knew I had a shelf life of about 18, 20 months. And then once they'd leached or you'd contributed,
Yes.
you'd be offered a redundancy. So I was already planning my own business.
Okay, let's get you on the open road. The clearing, first of all, is your serious, happy place. So Christine Marsh, business change facilitator, world-renowned international speaker and author. What is a clearing for you? Where do you go in your life's rich tapestry to get clutter-free, inspirational and able to think?
Physically, I can't physically go somewhere because of the traveling that I've done. And I think the 4 years you mentioned the death of my husband, and basically that was survival. So I found it hard to have a happy place, and having to move and everything that's gone on there. It's in my head. I know that sounds dreadful, but I have a place quietly in my head where I go.
And if I may help us explore that. So how would you describe that special place in your head?
It's quiet. I like music in the background and virtually concentrating on my breathing and just get some peace and stop the world and get off.
I love that. And you've traveled to many, many places, but
Yeah.
the place is self-containment. It's within your own head whenever you need to go there. And that's quite Zen of itself, as a borrowing from that philosophy. But when was the last time you remember being in your clearing?
I think, when did I last go there? It was at 18th of December 2024. And I looked at the fact I'd moved, everything had settled, and I thought, now what? And I had two options. I could mature and age gracefully or be disgraceful. And guess which one I chose?
I'm glad you did.
So that basically was, okay, start a new life, blank sheet of paper. What are you going to do with the rest of your life?
That was one of the first really compelling things in a very early part of our first conversation, when you talked about life presenting you after the death of your husband with a completely blank piece of paper. Yes. So rather than retracting within and just staying in your clearing, you've actually come out almost all guns blazing.
I think the thing is that Colin, we met when we were 17, so we grew up together.
Yeah.
He never particularly wanted to know what I did, but he supported me in my madness. The only time that it went a bit pear-shaped is we got involved in pyramid marketing, and that was another story, and I started selling. I never saw it selling. I was just offering a service. I never thought sales was imposing on somebody. And I actually found that my area, my region, had got top marks, and the phone went, and it was, Christine, we want you in Geneva on Tuesday as one of our speakers. And he said no. Now that came as a shock.
Your husband said no?
No, can't do it. You are a wife, you're a mother, we've got 2 young children, and I'm very proud of him because having said no, I think that was his survival technique with 3 women in his life, with our 2 daughters first, and then think about it. He came and he said, look, you've worked really hard for this. What do you need? How long will you be away? Can we work together? And that was how we got through my mad, crazy adventures afterwards. Just tell me where you're going. Let me know when you're back. And if you can manage to send smoke signals up or something to say you're still breathing. He supported, but he never really wanted to know what I did.
Yes. So he allowed you to weave your magic.
Yes.
And magic you have weaved, and that's what the collective wisdom is all about here in the book that we'll talk about later on as well. So if I may, I'm now going to intrude slightly within your clearing by arriving with a tree, and I'm going to shake your tree, and it's a bit deliberately existential, a bit Waiting for Godot-esque. And this is where you've had 5 minutes, Christine Marsh, or as long as you've needed since you very kindly agreed to be in the show, to have thought about 4 things that have shaped you, 3 things that inspire you, 2 things that never fail to grab your attention, and borrow from the film Up. That's a bit, well, squirrels. You know, what are your shiny object syndromes, your monsters of distraction? And then the 1 is a quirky or unusual fact about you.
Okay.
So over to you. It's not a memory test. I'll curate you through it, but 4 things that have shaped you, first of all.
Being born in India, I think that was what I call my unorthodox beginning and introduction to life. Born in 1940, the war started, and my father was posted. Well, he was in India with my mother and elder sister, beg your pardon, and get my relationships right here. And all the families were actually moved up into Kashmir.
Yeah.
And we were there virtually for the duration of the war. So my poor sister, bless her, Rosemary, I love her dearly, she's in Canada. She was sent to boarding school. And that was a bit tough because I was a little cosseted brat that was left behind. And I didn't get any education. Nobody got at me. So my brain was never formatted. I never had to comply. Never had any tick boxes or exams. Or I think it's 2 or 3 now they're testing these little mites. I think it's wicked. You know, the time when you should be having fun and creating and developing your imagination and all the gorgeous things about being a child. And so basically it turned out that the penalty for that freedom was when we returned in 1947. I think there was something that went on where the Brits were kicked out of India. They found I couldn't read. So this disruptive child actually was masking the fact that these black squiggles didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I wonder how, I don't know if it's verging on dyslexia. I don't know all the official terms.
Yes.
But basically, artistically, I see shapes. And I never related that shape to a word. You know, it was one teacher who twigged that within this. Shall I tell you what she did to me?
Sure.
She sat me down and she showed me, and it was black squiggles. There didn't look many of them. And it's actually the famous saying, I think they use it to test typing things on keyboards. Do they was printing? Because Colin was a printer, so.
There's a lazy dog in there.
That's
isn't
it,
Yes.
yeah. The red fox jumps over the brown lazy dog, or the other way round. And so she went, oh, and I thought, what? She went, oh, there's a dog here. And I thought, where's the dog? I can see black squiggles. And what she did, she got the picture of that squiggle to equal dog. Right, click, got it. Fox, she taught me nouns, boof, just like that. Wonder what they're doing. Oh, jumping, verb.
Yeah.
Right, adjectives, colour, brown, red. I mean, isn't that brilliant? Where does this teaching spark of that genius? She has been the foundation of why I felt that nobody should be judged unless they had the opportunity to learn.
Yes.
And that's been my life mission.
And seeing patterns and in the squiggles, I don't doubt would have helped you later on as a facilitator, because you're there looking at supply chains and just seeing patterns of behavior.
Yes.
So actually it's a very compelling way to learn rather than the obvious way to learn.
Yes, you'll see, you'll go, I did some work with Elizabeth Arden, and again, the clients have all become dear friends. When Colin died, the number of people who turned up on my doorstep to see if I was okay.
Yes.
And still do. So the key thing really was, I give you 1.5 hours. We just paid a fortune to one of the top people. And what they do, they send in graduates on £500 a day, and they're charging £4,000 a day for the services. And he'd had these reports, and all they'd done is ask the people what the problem was and then send it back as a report. Or no solutions to it.
Yeah.
He gave me 1.5 hours. He said, get down on my production line if you come back with anything that can be sorted. And I thought, you're saying I can't, don't you? And guess what the response was? So you go down, they have this very expensive cellophane that they wrap. I think you pay that instead of what's the cosmetics in the jar kind of thing. And there was wastage. And I thought, well, how can you afford to waste that amount off a bale of cellophane? So fortunately, there was a delivery just coming in. Went out and watched the forklift driver, and no one had trained them. They were using agency staff. So the forklift prongs, instead of going into the pallet and lifting the pallet, were going on the top of the pallet and scratching. Well, you lost a good 6 inches.
Yes.
Sorry if you're into centimetres or something. I'm still in inches and pounds and shillings. Bear with me. And the other thing was, they had 5 different titles, and you thought, why do you need 5 managers here on a production unit? And it had been the way of quelling the troublemakers. If they moaned, give them a bit more money and give them another title and shut them up.
Right.
But, you know, what happened to decision making? Over the fence, it's them. They decide. So
Yes. So
that's
deferring responsibility. whereas-
totally, you know, you didn't have that clarity of who did what actually.
And again, coming full circle, it's you noticing the squiggles of patterns of behaviour.
Yes.
And then changing, and then presumably saving an absolute fortune.
Well, from that, I was then put into what Support Sunlight is it, Unilever, and that was on a negotiation skills workshop. Well, you can imagine this container coming across the oceans with it's got say let's SO7 in it. Well, the departments didn't collaborate. They were in competition to get the biggest supply at the best price with each other. It's loopy.
Yes.
So what I did, I got them in a workshop, and this is where I don't get this out of textbooks. The only letters after my name are CPT, and that's Certified Performance Technologist, and that has to be American.
And what's so compelling, going back again a full step, is that most people will be reflecting back on their career at 84, but you're still out there wanting to speak, wanting to connect, wanting to help solve problems.
Well, I'm learning. You know, nothing is unsolvable. I know that sounds pretty dramatic, but you sometimes have no option. We've got to solve what we're doing to this planet, or we're going to be zotted, aren't we? Let's face it.
Yes. So next shapeage, number one is being born in India, and then meeting your first key influencer teacher who saw how to help you.
Yes. I think what happened then was basically coming back to the UK, this army brat. But because you moved around so much, Chris, I don't know if you've experienced that, but you were always a new kid on the block.
Yeah.
There were established friendships. So I became an observer.
An outlier, which again is very useful for the art of facilitation.
Just watching the connections, who goes out with who's talking about who behind their backs, all this kind of, you know, quite difficult observation stuff going on. But do you realise how many people were army brats that had been in India? Joanna Lumley, the Goons, Peter Sellers, all those were army brats. And our survival technique was humour.
Yes.
So that's why I have a laugh at life.
A great lens indeed. So that's wonderful. Shapeage number 3, please.
Oh, what did I do there? Well, obviously family. They should have come first, but you know, you have responsibility. We married very young, 21. We had 2 beautiful daughters, and Alison and Rachel. And it was very different then, because back in the sort of late 70s, women stayed at home, stereotypes. And I think Alison was 5, Rachel was 3 at the time, 2 years difference. And, you know, I had, when Colin was made redundant, so I had to make some pennies to help. And the Avon round was going. So how many people out there started with an Avon round?
Bing bong, Avon calling. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, but you know, it fitted in with women and family, and you could do it in the evening. And so he bought me a little Fiat, and I used to bomb round, helping people. As I say, I didn't see selling imposing. It was providing a service, and that's always been whatever I do. If I can't provide a bona fide service that gives you a result, then kick me out.
Yes. So you're inveterately always trying to help and shift things to make them more efficient.
Detective work, I like to see it as. Do you know what that means? Detective work is finding information not readily available. So I'm being told one thing and the other. So when they were sort of competing for this thing, what I placed on a table was 1 orange. And these people had to negotiate for the orange, and they split into groups. So one were playing the provider of the orange, and the other were the people who wanted to buy the orange. Chris, you wouldn't believe what came out of that simple exercise.
I'm sure.
It was unbelievable. They were really getting into it. And this young kid got it, a young gentleman there rather. Sorry, kids are nanny goats, offsprings, aren't they? Sorry, it's a horrible phrase. Sorry, kids. But basically, no one had said, what are you going to use it for? Why have this possession of the orange? Why are you fighting over an orange? And what it was, one group needed the zest. The other people needed the juice for a drink.
Yeah.
The other people needed the pips because they were looking long term and planning an orange orchard. So they weren't looking at immediate return, they were looking at long term. Can you see how my brain
Yes, there's sort of
chunks over?
the art of collaboration.
Yes.
Yes.
So-
That's a wonderful exercise. I've seen it described before. It's not just cutting it in half and giving them half each. That's the most obvious compromise. But then digging into who needs the zest, the pips, the rind. Yes. Lovely.
So that was what was the question?
It's shapage, and we could be at shapage number 4 now, please.
Right. So the family obviously got into work really because that was a necessity. I will tell you about pyramid selling at some time because that was absolutely the formation of my speaking and management career. But really, the key thing is the whole thing of communication.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question.
Certainly.
Okay. I'm going to describe something that's really clear in my head.
Yeah.
Now, might ask Joe anyway. What do you see? The animal has long nose, big furry ears. Without thinking, what pops into your head?
Long nose, big furry ears. I'm getting a donkey hybrid, could be an anteater. Long nose, dog.
Yeah, okay. We're supposed to have one animal, not a zoo.
I'll go for the zoo. I'll go for the donkey.
Right. Do you know, this is why we get on. I think in the years I've been using this, I've only found 25 people who see a donkey the same as I do.
Oh, you do too?
Yes.
Oh, that's a revelation.
Yes, there you go.
That's a source of great joy. Thank you.
Yeah, no, the donkey. So I love it because you're doing watching. So you get the very quick-witted people who don't allow you to even finish an end. They see an anteater. And then you say, well, what happens to the big furry ears? There aren't any. And what happens when his nose is in, or it's not his nose, it's his tongue. So you have this absolutely random conversation about anteaters. And then somebody will see a nice bunny rabbit.
Yeah,
they go to the soft fluffy bit, and they forget all about the long nose. And then you have a big debate. Is it a skull or is it a nose? And from that simple exercise, I've done it with groups all over the place. And it just shows communication is an illusion. Who's it? Was it George Shaw? What's he called?
Bernard Shaw.
Yeah. He said that the problem with communication is the illusion that's taking place.
Absolutely.
And I think that's such a quote because we spout off.
And it's not what you say, it's what people hear.
I hope you hear. What animal did you see, I wonder?
Yes. Yeah. You can actually comment and say, what animals did you see?
What animals did you see?
I'm thrilled that I've had we share a donkey.
There you go. That's why we connect.
So now we could be, that's the first bit. That's 4 things that have shaped you. And now 3 things that inspire you, Christine Marsh.
Okay. Travel. It really is, I think, because we came back from India, went out to Singapore. It was north. You were doing Cambridge. You then came down and you were doing Oxford. And then you went, it was ridiculous. But I had 5 blissful years in Singapore and made, I think, a true friend, lifelong. I've only got very few true friends who know me to the depths because I'm usually quite a private person, believe it or not. And so Jill, who's sadly gone on ahead of me, she really was a big influence for me.
What was her second name?
Jill King at that stage. And then she became Jill Kemp. And her daughter is my goddaughter, Sarah. And she got a lovely son, Simon, who is the chef who cooks meals to die for. If you want to go to South Africa, or I'll bring him over here, Chris, and make him cook for us.
Yes, please. Okay. The way to my heart is always through food. Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah, so, that was really the travel factor. And that's why I went through this unorthodox beginning.
Yeah.
And then from 7 till 36 was orthodox.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't actually, because at 36, I decided to start my own business.
Yeah. And
that really was the biggest decision I've ever made. And here I am.
And that was the prime objective, is that the...
Yeah, yes. Yeah. It was, I'd had to sack somebody over technicality and I felt pig sick because I knew higher ups were getting away with it. Yeah. And this kid was just being a scapegoat. And I was driving back and I thought, I can't work like this. This is going to do me in.
Yeah.
I'm in the prime of life. Why don't I focus on company's objectives? So what's your problem?
Hence the prime objective.
Prime objectives.
Yes. And you saying you're in the prime of life, you always are. You have a perpetual carpe diem, still in the prime of life.
Yeah.
I mean, what is, again, I can't get over the fact that it's just so not over, because your mission is, as going as long as you can, being as inspirational as you can.
So 50 is getting over this, and the momentum is growing now. More and more groups are saying, look, this is ridiculous.
Yes.
The retirement age no longer is, what they want you to work till 70 before you get your pensions. That's one of the things they're muting. So, this health, I don't know whether it's medicine or we're eating healthier or whatnot, but we don't pop off quite as early as we used to. I think women still outlast the men.
Yes.
And
I'm sorry that you're proof of that, because I know that obviously.
Yeah, no, he was out mowing the lawn and didn't feel well. And the cruelest thing, Chris, was it was the beginning of COVID, and the ambulance came and I wasn't allowed to go with him. Children weren't allowed to visit him, and we were allowed to see his dead body.
Yes,
now,
indeed.
How families have coped with losing children. I just feel sick.
Yes.
We'd had a good full life. He would not have wanted to be an invalid.
Yeah.
It doesn't sort of help that you're left muttering at him and giving a few swear words of, clearing, leaving me in this mess to mop up.
And may I ask, did he go very quickly?
Yeah, that was it.
That was a sort of aneurysm snap.
It was an aneurysm gone, bang. No, nothing you could do about it. But the problem was, I don't know what's worse, because my dear friend Penny Reed, bless her, Penny's been a good friend to me. I think it was about 7.5 years of losing somebody through, I don't know if it's dementia, Alzheimer's. It's just basically a lingering part.
Yes.
Whereas this, you didn't have time to tell him that you loved him.
Yes.
And I think it's a fact, but it's not giving you that chance.
And this was the genesis of your blank piece of paper to start again.
Yeah.
Lesser mortals would just sort of reflect, stop, I suppose, deal with whatever inheritance you have, and then get on with a happy retirement. But you've not done that.
No, I think I don't know what would happen. I think if you've got something that you want to rekindle, and with me it was art, because my father only allowed me 1 year in art college, and in my book you can see what I did at 18. And then basically that died a death. You did things for the school and whatnot. But I thought, what am I going to do now with this blank sheet of paper? So at 81, I went on a fabulous course of flavors, holidays, do art courses or cooking courses or whatever. And that was ideal. So I've been to Scotland, I've been to Tuscany, I've just got back from Southeast Sicily with a tutor.
Yeah.
And I've now got an opportunity in Stow-in-the-Wold at one of the libraries to have an exhibition. They want me to sell my stuff. And
Stow-in-the-Wold is where TJ has brought you down this very day.
Yes.
Yes.
That's where I decided that I wanted to be part of a community. And I have cultivated good friendships because it's independent living. But I deliberately went around Stow, and I think I bought in every shop to become a friend and a known. And I can walk in now and people say, "Hi, Christine, how are you doing?" But you have to contribute. You can't sit there and expect the world to come to you.
That's such a trailblazing philosophy of itself. Yes, beautiful. We're still on to the other inspirations. So another source of inspiration, and you are being truly inspirational in everything
I think
you're saying.
the people, that I am always, my eldest daughter, I worked with training people. She works with training dogs. She's just fantastic with other healing skills she's got. Our youngest daughter, Rachel, is a fully qualified conservator. She's managing one of the museums in Woking, and her artwork is out this world. I mean, I wish I could draw and paint like she does. But there you go. It's
and what's your own medium of your own art? Is it watercolor? What do you like to craft?
Look, you're trying to put me in a box again, so you can imagine what that feels like. What's your medium, Christine? I dabble. I decided, right, I'm going to try everything. So if you look in my book, there's I think it's on page 80 or something, there's a beautiful turtle that I've done in oil pastels. Tuscany is watercolor. You couldn't do oils, but you could do acrylics. So I've dabbled and I've just had so much fun. There isn't a style because I'm experimenting.
Yes.
Life is still an experiment, for goodness sake.
You're still
Chris.
throwing art throwing paint at the canvas of life.
Yeah, because you don't know what
That's
you
Jackson
can do.
Pollock, isn't it? I think. Is that right?
I don't know. It
Yeah.
sounds very impressive.
Yes, just hurling paint at the wall and seeing what flops out, metaphorically.
Then I would do a very, very detailed calligraphy.
Okay.
So I love calligraphy. I love the shape and the space. And, you do an alphabet. Well, the letter I has a different space to the letter O or the letter M or the letter Z.
You've done a cheeky bit of calligraphy in dedicating the book to me as well, which I loved as well. Thank you.
No, it's... I just love seeing that it's the space between things. That's what I see.
Ah, yes.
Does that make sense?
It
Chris?
does. To all of your philosophy, seeing black squiggly lines to sort of learn to read. It's the spaces in between.
Yes.
And also fixing stuff, curating stuff.
Yeah.
And, you're a people whisperer. Your daughter is a dog whisperer. One of your other daughter is an art whisperer. Yes. Wonderful stuff. Yeah. Now we're on to the third inspiration, I think.
Music.
Okay.
Music. I was very lucky, my sister being 8 years older. What was she, 18, beautiful, big taffeta ball gowns and young, handsome men collecting. I was a spotty 11-year-old. I mean, it's not fair, is it? I mean, it really is grim.
We've all been spotty 11-year-olds.
Oh, anyway, sorry, that was a big sigh there. But she always had classical music playing. And I thank her very much because her exposure to, I can't even pronounce his name, it's Bruges or something, but I will cry. If I want a good cry, and I did after Colin died, I will put that music on.
Do you remember the title of the music? Because Dan, my podcast editor, is brilliant at texturing in the right music.
I think it's Bruges. I wish I did. I can hear it. It's one of the most exquisite, poignant pieces of music.
So beyond today, make sure you tell me what it is.
Yeah.
And Dan, you'll know exactly what to do. This is where we weave in the music that allows you to have the cry when you need it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that it builds in crescendo and it gets to the point where you're at that point of agony. I can't describe it any other way. And the only thing you can do is cry.
And do you sit in your clearing?
Do you know that's where I go with that kind of music?
Yes.
Quiet space. And
that quiet space inside your head.
Yeah.
The Zen center point, if you like. It's a bit like your own clearing, metaphorically, which I so love having as the center point.
And then the other music, obviously, with Colin, we both love cars and we both love jazz and big band. So we originally saw Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, all down in Bristol. They used to come to, fantastic things here. My daughters were a little bit shocked when, for the actual crematorium, I wanted a Count Basie tune. And everyone said, listening to Colin coming in, it was him, because it comes in, it's slinky, and then it goes, the trumpets come out, and there's no words to it. I've got to find the words to the name of that one, but it's
so we'll find out the Count Basie track as well.
Yes, please, because that is my husband.
Well, as a tribute to Colin, this is the Count Basie track. Now, Dan, you'll know what to do. Lovely stuff. Okay, now we're on to the squirrels. May I throw you a squirrel, Christine?
Oh, yes.
It doesn't matter if you don't catch it, but
no,
squirrels. So
don't tell me I can't.
In fact, I've got a slide
it.
for the squirrels. Look at that. Can I just show you this slide over here?
Oh, they're gorgeous.
I've just revealed a big slide of some squirrels. Apparently, they look like that when they encounter a particularly spectacular nut. So there you go. So squirrels, borrow from the film Up. What are your two squirrels? What in your life never failed to stop you in your track? Sometimes called shiny object syndrome. What never fails to stop you in your tracks, Christine?
Sunset.
Beautiful.
A sunset, a beautiful sunrise, sunset. That entry and departure of the warmth of the sun, I just find that's life, isn't it? We have sunrises and then we have sunsets.
And here you are in your sunflower yellow garb today.
Yeah,
that's a great squirrel, a sunset.
Yes.
Wonderful. Any particular place on the planet you remember a favorite sunset?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, where I've traveled all around Europe. I think my most exciting adventure was going across Russia to Siberia, and from Siberia out to the Altai Mountains by the Mongolian border. That first trip was organised. There's 14 of us, which was hysterical Americans, you name it, wanting showers and lifts and hotels and whatnot. But 2 years later, I thought, I haven't connected. I've been a tourist and I'm not a tourist. So I went back by myself.
And what year was this, or how long ago?
2002.
Aha.
So, and the photos, honestly, Chris, you had someone on your podcast as a very famous photographer. And I've got photos there way out in the Altai Mountains.
Yes.
That you won't get again. I don't know who will be allowed to wander around with a camera like I did.
And by all means, send a photograph as well. And when I talk about your episode, I'll put, this is your sunset, your outer Mongolian sunset, which is beautiful.
It's just, it'll be that, or it might be the storm, because we wanted to go to Mount Beluka is the mother mountain. She's the sacred mountain. People do pilgrimages. She's there with her 2 peaks of her daughters. And they actually had the research station there. We couldn't get there by horse, which is normally the way you go. So they decided to hire a helicopter. Chris, I got to send you a picture of this helicopter. You go to this disused airfield with this wreck of a helicopter sitting in a field.
Good luck.
No doors that shut, 2 pilots. So you're sat there and this thing does take off, and then you're going and you hit this storm. I mean, the black clouds. There was no way we could do that. So we had to divert across the border into the following country. But, you know, he landed in a meadow and no human had been there.
Wow.
There was no path to it. It was just a safe plan. The natural streams, the flowers, and I thought, this is heaven on earth. Look what we do to it.
Yep, flopped in a rickety helicopter into a field that no man has ever landed in before.
Yeah, I got a picture of me sitting there
in the meadow.
Yes,
in
with a
Christine
helicopter
Marsh's
in the
meadow.
background. Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad it got you back. Sounds like it's a bit hairy as to whether it would take off again.
Yeah, it was good. Is that?
That's a great squirrel wrapped in sunsets of glory.
Okay.
And now you're allowed a second squirrel. So squirrel, next one.
Oh, special things. Special things. The squirrel. I think I had a cataract, or 2 cataracts done, because you sort of do that. And I think you don't realise how your vision gets blurred. And suddenly to look at a dandelion in all its glory, I will just sit and look at it. And you think, we're surrounded by these things, but life is such a place we do not stop and look. Who is it? We don't have time to wander and look at the daffodils or something. That's in Windermere, isn't it?
Sounds a bit T.S. Eliot as well.
It's something,
I wandered lonely as a cloud.
Yeah.
Come across a bunch of daffodils is the main gist of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what I do now. If I'm out for a walk, I'll suddenly see a flash of colour. It could be a bird, it could be a flower, it could be a tree, it could be a cloud, it could be anything.
I love that.
And it's just saying, we're surrounded like this and we're too busy. And it's, it's go, 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 go. We do not replenish our batteries like we used to. We don't.
That is such sage-like advice, and a really happy, optimistic warning to us all.
Mm. And
just the comedian me is saying, I can see clearly now my cataracts have gone. Yes. But then there's a dandelion there going in all its glory.
Yeah. So that's.
So sunsets and dandelions are wonderful squirrels. Thank you so much. That's just beautiful storytelling right there.
And yellow jackets and friendly squirrels, yeah.
And I'm very happy you're excited to see my squirrel. I say my family think I'm a complete loony that I whip out the props.
And I love those.
So they are. You are a spectacular nut, is what the joke is there as well. So back to your beautiful slide there. And now a quirky or unusual fact about you, Christine Marsh, we couldn't possibly know about you until you tell us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My father, as a military officer, had ordered a son. Right, the certificates in India had to be filled out with Anthony Eden's signature very quickly to claim British citizenship.
Yeah.
So he came, and William Richard was already written in. I must have been a rebel from conception. Nobody's going to tell me that I can't be a girl. or whatever. I don't know.
Yes.
But
I've just understood. He ordered a son, and then out pops Christine.
Yes.
Sorry, I got a bit lost there.
Yeah. Without the necessary appendages,
Of course.
So you've got, that was a big shock, but no girl's name at all. I mean, it just was not in his. Do you know what he said? I don't care. Oh, sorry. I'm humming it up here because you've got to laugh or cry. I don't care what anyone else calls it. I'm going to call it Bill.
Good grief.
So the William became Bill. My mother concurred. My sister concurred. My sister's children, if you go onto Facebook, they'll be saying Auntie Bill. Wow. My school friends, Jane, who I met at 15, I'm Bill to all her children. I'm a godmother to my lovely Adam. So I have Jill and then my dear friend Jane Whitmore, who has stuck with me. And I'm Bill to her family. Colin refused to call me Bill, but you know what he called me? Chris. Well, Christine. So I never had Christine used in my present. I was not. Oh, except my uncle, my Uncle Fred. He told my father off when I must have been about 12, something like that. I said, "How dare you?"
Yes, I was going to say, how dare he?
Dare you call this beautiful young child, growing into going to be an amazing woman, Bill? And he was the first one who called me Christy.
And he would have got on quite well with Henry VIII, your dad, I think.
Well, it was a sad story, but
have you ever made peace with that? I mean, I know that it's an affectionate moniker to call you Bill now.
No, it wasn't.
Which your friends hold in high
friends,
regard.
Yeah.
But with your dad, that's deeply damaging and toxic.
What he wanted, you talk a lot about collaboration, Chris. Well, he wanted competition. Right, he took me as a young girl as a mascot to boxing matches, and I would sit in the front row being splattered by blood as people smashed hell out of each other. And I thought, why has life got to have winners and losers? This is ridiculous. We can collaborate, surely. So all the work that I do or I've done within organisations, right up till very recently, well, before COVID, I was working over in Poland, do a lot of work in Germany, all that had to stop. But people call me in, what exactly do? You haven't asked me. But basically, we don't know what she does, but she sorts things.
Yes.
Whatever it is. So the facilitation has been an integral part of what I've done, as well as standing up and spouting my stuff kind of thing.
And is there forgiveness with your father, as in how you think back on that? Because that's such an extraordinary, sort of ignorant.
Yeah, but you see the things that, you talk about kids with self-harm. I don't know if any parents are out there that are having to deal with that, or anybody who wants the pain of self-harm or to get out of doing something you don't want to do. And I'd run in a relay race in Singapore. And I was number 3 in what the circuit was. And our best girl was number 4, And all I had drummed, and Christine, Bill, whatever it was called, get the baton to her. You must get to the baton her. We've got to win this relay race. So I put spurt on, gave her the baton, and she came in second. I thought about that. But there was a talent scout, and he went up, because my father never watched me, but anyway, went up to mine and said, "Do you realise the speed your daughter's just run at? That's amateur athletic speed. She should be in Malaysia. We've got the thing. She should be on our relay team." And you know what he did? He immediately bought me the best pair of spiked shoes in Singapore, Raffles Hotel. Have you been there, Chris?
Yes, I have actually.
Well,
yes.
The cricket field is still there. Well, they used to have like a circuit. So next thing, I'm running with this guy, and he starts talking, and I thought, well, I'm not quite certain what I'm here for. And he speeded up, and I speeded up quite naturally. Anyway, he came back, and Dad had been timing me. So they then got this girl, trying to think, Kim something or other, who was their top person. And they said, "Christine, or Bill, whatever, we want you to have a run round with her." And I thought, you're not being very friendly, because she was deliberately speeding up. And I thought, don't tell me I can't keep up with you. You're not going to leave me behind. And I kept up with her. So the next thing, I'm on the team to go to Kuala Lumpur to compete. Yeah. Can you imagine what that relay team felt like?
Yes. I love the idea. You're not going to leave me behind. You must have had such courage in that.
Sorry, snorting. That's not
No, I know.
ladylike.
I'm staggered and floored by your father's outlook. That's extraordinary. And you know, I hope you found some redress. Some
Well,
peace
what
with it.
I did, because I wasn't going to run, I was not going to go into competition. That wasn't what I wanted. There had to be a way collaborating. I knew that as a young child.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if I scratch the back of my leg, I won't be able to run. Well, in Singapore, we were up on something called it's Pasapanjang, they were hit, and they had shingle hills.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if I scrape myself a little bit, then I can't run. Now, this is self-harm. I hadn't realised. But Chris, you sit at the top, but you don't realise when you're on shingle, you keep going. So I'm down there. I get to the bottom. I've taken the skin from the back of my knee up to my butt off. I mean, I'd done serious damage. That was a bit dramatic not to run in a relay. He never forgave me for that.
Wow. As I say, I hope you've redressed it, because that's such an extraordinary revelation as to, you know, the true nature of the man that was your father. Mm-hmm. So that's almost like just let that float out there. Mm-hmm. We have shaken your tree. Hurrah. Right. And now we stay in your clearing, which is that wonderful Zen place within your own headscape. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where there's beautiful music playing as well. Next, we're going to talk about alchemy and gold. So when you're at purpose and in flow, mm-hmm. Christine Marsh, business change facilitator, international speaker, what are you absolutely happiest doing in what you're here to reveal to the world?
I think looking at someone and seeing potential.
Beautiful.
And thinking, oh, you could blossom. Do you know women say, oh, I'm only I just do this, and they demean what they do.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, don't do that. You've project managed Christmas lunch, for goodness sake. You know, you've done amazing things, but this I'm only just drives me scatty, because nobody's an only A. Yes. Everybody has got their own gifts and things that you develop. So I've now got clients who on LinkedIn who were the young sprogs, and they are now top notch. And we're still in contact. I get so much pleasure from seeing their capabilities they had. I didn't have the capabilities, but if you allow somebody the opportunity or the space or the encouragement,
yes,
what comes out is magic.
Yes. What's so wonderful is you haven't played it forward with your own conditioning. You are just a revelation in trying to nurture and help others despite your own background.
Well, I can't do anything about it, so.
And seeing potential and redressing the idea of non-assertive language choices and self-limiting beliefs, and just realizing full potential in all that you come across.
That sounds very impressive. I didn't know I did that.
You are very impressive, and yes, you do that. Hurrah. I'm going to award you with a cake now. So that's something else I can give you. Have a cake.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Let's talk about cake. So do you like cake,
yes,
Christine Marsh?
Yes.
And what's your favourite type of cake?
Dundee cake.
I like that. A bit of Scottish Dundee cake.
Yeah.
Lovely. So the Dundee cake shall be yours.
Right.
At this moment, it's a metaphorical cake, but I hope to be able to send you an actual Dundee cake.
No, look, it's no good without a piece of cheese.
Oh, donkeys in common when we talk about animals with long noses and furry ears. And yes, I love cheese with either ginger cake or Dundee cake.
Go together.
They do, and it's quite an unusual thing. But yes, cheese with Dundee cake shall be yours. Now you get to put a cherry on the cake with stuff like, what's a favourite, and you've given us many delicious quotes already, but what's a favourite inspirational quote, Christine Marsh, that's always given you succor and pulled you towards your future?
Oh dear, what is it? Nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. And that's Eleanor Roosevelt, bless her.
Lovely quote. Just say it again, just to deliberately reincorporate.
Nobody, and I am meaning this, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. Just tell them to get lost.
Perfect. With the gift of hindsight, what notes, help or advice might you proffer to a younger version of yourself, Christine?
Don't give in to other people's judgments. Don't try to conform to what their wishes are. Be yourself.
Again, beautifully succinct and a perfect mantra to help pull us all towards our future.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. We're going to be, I'll just ask another question now. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given by somebody else that's helped you?
Oh gosh, best piece of advice: trust your intuition. Go with that inner voice. Even though the analogy of fire, people try and dampen you, they try and put it out. Never ever let that spark go out.
And we talked about spark and fire.
Mm-hmm.
I said that at the beginning. Do you want to just tell us the quick story? Well, you don't do it quickly, but the idea of your lovely analogy or allegory of matches, and about in order to shine, you need to burn.
You see, when in the book I talk about the elements, right? So you have wind, you have water, you have, what's the other one? Wind, water, and something. Anyway,
Fire.
But there's 4.
And earth.
Earth, thank you.
Yeah.
For those. So I do cover that is fundamental, because we're part of it. You know, we're made up of the same component bits, to be honest. Anyway, fire then was, in one of my presentations, I'm talking about sometimes the forest fire is needed. And that destruction, when you sit there, like after Colin died, and you're just looking at this black land thinking, what can possibly grow anywhere when I'm feeling like this? Some seeds will only germinate in intense heat. So those little seedlings that come up need that for your rebirth and your development. So fire is the transformational element, but a lot of people don't take it further to see it as a transformational factor.
Yes.
It's a destructive or whatever, and it isn't. It gives you warmth. But in Gloucester, we had the, is it Moreland's Match Factory?
Yeah.
So, you know, that was that lovely rasping noise.
Yes.
Yeah. And the youngsters don't do that now, do
Yes.
they? They don't strike matches. Even to light, how many people have fires now? They have central heating. To be out in the woods. Come on, Chris. Did you ever do that?
Definitely. Go feral.
Did you?
Bit of chaffing wood and striking matches. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, that combustion is change.
Yes.
And you have to go through combustion sometimes.
So glimmers of light, even in the darkness, and germination through adversity.
Yes.
Oh, lovely stuff. We're ramping up to Shakespeare in a moment to talk about legacy. But just before we get there, this is the pass the golden baton moment, please. So who would you most like to pass the golden baton along to in order to keep the golden thread of the storytelling going now that you've experienced this from within?
You see, I've got 2 contenders. The one young woman who is in the book who has overcome adversity, but you want famous people who've made it or not?
It's whoever you think would most like to be given or passed along, because it's your golden thread of storytelling.
I think the key thing is she is the one who was told you'd never make your dream, and she's done it despite people telling her what she couldn't do. But I don't think she'd come to be interviewed. I don't think she'd be comfortable doing that. She just gets on with it. The other person is Dr. I think I've got her name here, Ingram, and Angeli Ingram, who I think would be the one I'd nominated too.
Sure.
So she has had a consultancy business. I met her at a conference in Warsaw. She website, what she's doing. I just love the polymath, is it? Of what she does.
Yes, a polymath, someone who can't just do one thing, has to do many things.
She's I'm one of those as well.
You are a polymath, absolutely.
But where we got on so well was, in addition to doing really serious consultancy work with big names, she had something called a NEM school, and she goes out into deprived villages and ensures that youngsters get some education.
Yeah.
She's an amazing woman. And she's just retaking up painting herself now. But she came and visited me. Chris, Stow on the Wold is a magnet. People want to come, I'm sure, to see Stow on the Wold. And by the way, Christine lives there. No, it's maybe not quite like that, but
the queen of Stow on the Wold is
it's
Christine
just a
Marsh.
lovely part of the world where people can come.
Yes.
And it's all on your doorstep. So if you can't be happy there, you won't be happy anywhere.
Love that. That's a great advert for Stow on the World.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the Stow on the World Tourist
Yeah,
Board.
so I think she would be the one.
And just to remind me of her name again, sorry, just so I can write it down. We'll look it up later.
Angela, it's Dr. Anjali.
Yeah, Anjali.
And Nigam or N. Angela.
Nicham. They may be watching as we speak. So I'm coming for you, the golden button. And now, thank you so much for that. Inspired by Shakespeare and all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. This is borrowing from the 7 ages of man stroke woman. And we're way beyond, we're 84 on to 90, 190 and beyond. So how, when all is said and done, wind you forward 30 years, would you most like Christine Marsh to be remembered?
She didn't know the meaning of can't.
Boom.
All right.
Yes, that'll do. And may I say, you're a trailblazer in that regard. And by the time you're 90, you're going to be the key global influencer on living life to the full for the over 50s. Nobody stuffs your ego. That's great. So now we're going to do a very exciting thing, which is called Show Us Your QR Code, please.
Wow.
For excitement. So if you'd like to connect, obviously, with Christine Marsh online, your website is thechristinemarsh.com. And I know exactly why you've called it that, because there is only one, thechristinemarsh.com. And then Jo, my lovely studio assistant, is now going to show you your QR code, please, which is...
How do I use these things?
Well, it's flashing up on screen now. So if you're watching this online and you'd like to just scan the QR code, it will take you straight, not to your house in Stow on the World transformed. No, it'll take you there. So just talk us through what people can find at christinemarsh.com.
What you'll find there is basically the redefined services that I'm offering. Right, because I used to do big project with big company players, and been to Moscow and Rome and Italy and you name it, they've sent me all over. I'm very fortunate to have had that trust, because I don't have all the letters after my name to say I've studied this or been to that university. Yeah. My experience is what learning comes from experience, and wisdom comes from experience, isn't it?
Yes,
learning, not knowledge comes from
the Terry Pratchett quote you wanted to reincorporate.
Yes, could you read it for me?
I certainly can, in the book, which we're going to do a special bit about in a section. But knowledge comes from learning, wisdom comes from experience. Yeah. That's a Terry Pratchett quote.
It's a brilliant one.
And another epicentric quote I loved when we first spoke is your Leonardo da Vinci quote, which is blazing on your website. Just remind everybody what that is.
Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. I will go in where you've had top companies employing high flyers, and I go in and I think, but you've missed the fact you haven't thought the forklift driver hasn't been trained. You've missed the fact that the person who's buying something on a heat sealer hasn't told the operators. So the bags are being sealed at too high a temperature and they split. To me, it's detective work.
Yes, things that can't.
It's not
easily,
obvious,
readily be seen.
But because my brain isn't cluttered with formats, or this is the way and these are the questions you ask and everything, I cut through all that.
Lovely. Excellent. So in a moment, we're going to do, there's another QR code if we'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn, which is a very important thing. This is the second QR code, which Jo will now flash up, which is join Christine Marsh on LinkedIn. Here comes another QR code. And again, your beautiful face is there. I've actually borrowed that lovely screenshot that you've given me. That's your picture, which is on LinkedIn anyway.
Thank you very much.
And anywhere else on the internet, people can come and find you. So you can talk about your newsletter.
Well, at the moment, it's obviously everything is, shall we say, being updated. And you've got thechristinemarsh.com. I'm on YouTube as well. And you come up as Christine Marsh, the Christine Marsh. And Facebook and you name it. So, but what I am in the midst of rebranding, because the project work now, I leave to the youngsters coming in, that they've got the energy. I now have streamlined it. And the thing that I think is the core to everything I do is facilitation. Now, facilitation is just making things easier. It doesn't mean you go in with a solution. You go in and you provide an environment where people actually work through with a little bit of nudge here and there, but most of the time you allow them to do the exploration rather. And so facilitation, I'm looking for anybody, either an individual who's hit a point in their life where they're not certain whether they're going to jump or they're waiting to be pushed, or this path or that path. And I use something called the self model. And that's something I use, which is clarity on situation, acknowledging the emotions, looking at the logic and getting that separated from assumptions, and that's quite difficult. And then the future, you've got 3 options: put up with it and shut up, right? See who will collaborate with you, because you can't do it by yourself. And the third one really is spreading the word out there and being prepared to ask for help. People, they moan and groan, but they don't come to any resolution, and I can't cope with that. There has to be a better way.
Beautifully put, and very reminiscent of the quote I love about facilitation, which is the best resource a good facilitator can bring into the room is themselves. It's the art of facilitation being enablement to get things working more smoothly and better.
Well, Chris, that's your area of expertise. So, sometimes you would love to have your 5 benners, and the hard thing is to let them work it through.
Yes. As this has been your moment in the sunshine in the Good Listening To show, we are going to do a Captain's Log supplemental about your book in just a second. But in this part of the programme, as this has been your moment in the sunshine of the Good Listening To show, Stories of Distinction and Genius, is there anything else you'd like to say, Christine Marsh?
I would like to say you only have the moment. You can't change the past. You can't determine the future. You can plan it, but you know what happens then. Please savor every single moment. It is the presence. That's all you've got, mate, because 1 minute somebody you love is there and the next minute they're gone. Something you thought you could do, you've now become old and you can't. So grab and live the moment.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the queen of Still in the World, who is Christine Marsh. Thank you so much for being here. There is the Captain's Log supplemental, as I'm describing, coming up soon. Okay. If you'd like a conversation about being in the show too, there's another QR code coming up. Thank you, the lovely Joe in the other room. This is to, thegoodlisteningtoshow.com is the main website. Legacy Life Reflections, it's far from over yet. There's no morbid intention with that, but legacylifereflections.com is a very particular special series strand of the show to record either your story or the story of somebody near, dear or close to you for posterity. Again, no morbid intention, but lest we forget before it's too late. So 2 websites, legacylifereflections.com, which is a special series strand within the Good Listening To show anyway. But also, if you'd like to talk about telling your story and amplifying your brand by being my guest here on LinkedIn, just get in touch and we'll have a conversation. Thank you so much. I've been Chris Grimes. This has been Christine Marsh. Hang on for a Captain's Log about your good book in just a second. We'll keep broadcasting, Joe, but this is really for Dan, my podcast editor, that this is the end of part 1 of the program. So thank you for watching on LinkedIn. You're free to go or stay, but obviously keep recording, Joe, as we do this. Thank you very much indeed. Anything else you'd like to say?
I think you meet somebody along life's path that you instantly connect with. Chris has got the same donkey in his head that I have, which is delightful to know there's other people that see that. But seriously, you're very special, Chris, and you're offering a service that people should be grateful for. And if you get the opportunity to sit in this chair, you're mad if you don't take it.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderfully generous of you. So thank you very much indeed.
Ta-da.
That's Christine Marsh. I'm Chris Grimes. Good night. Good night. And now we're going to do a quick thing about your book, if we may.
Yeah, sure.
So are you happy we go straight into this?
Yeah.
So your wonderful book.
Oh, sorry, did I not?
The wisdom of which you've been imparting all the way through. Flashpoint transformation. Yep. Life's choices. Are you, the big enigmatic question, are you ready to jump or waiting to be pushed? Mm-hmm. Just tell us the story behind the story of your collective shared wisdom of this book. And then I'm going to invite you, once you've spoken about it, to read an extract of your choice from it.
Okay. The key thing was that, please remember, having been called stupid because I couldn't read, I can talk. I think you've got the gist of that. So, in addition to the consultancy, facilitation, public speaking, and just give me an audience and I'm in my element. And obviously then the writing of the book was my biggest fear, because I can gauge when I'm with a human being, whether they're vibing positively or negatively or whatever's it. Once you put it in writing, you have no control of how people interpret it. And that scared me. And I knew the critic would come. Now, my lovely Richard Shepherd, yes, phoned me up and he said, sack the editor, Christine. I said, well, you're talking to her, because I had to control that. I designed it, I wrote it, I did it. That's my baby, right? I had the help of some graphic designs, putting colours and whatnot, but basically that is my lifeblood. I didn't want to write a business book on that one. It had to be very personal. It was my gift, really, to try and nudge people to look at themselves and what they really wanted, and did they have to rekindle a dream. And Richard phoned me up and he said, sack the editor. And I said, oh, I'm delighted. He said, pardon? I said, it means Richard, you've got to page 80. And there was one error there. Can you find it on page 80?
Page 80. Is there an error still there, blazing? We're on, it's about 97 pages long. Page 80.
Right, now could you see the list? Can you spot an error?
Here we go. Living examples. Thought of me, intuition. Rekindle. Will you use your energy? Will you use your energy as a... No, I can't see it.
Right. Well, I think it's is or in. It's one letter.
Okay.
And he spotted it.
Will you use your energy in a positive and productive
rather
way?
Than is.
Rather than energy is a positive and productive.
Now, I pretended, sorry, Richard, that was a deliberate just for you, but actually it was a genuine error. That book did not exist. I designed it, I wrote it, I got a lovely guy, Andy, who's known me for years down in Swansea doing it. And basically I've got boxes to sell, and people who've got it, I can't believe what they've taken from it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to be the nudge and inspiration, that there were things there that they are capable of doing.
And if I may give the book a compliment, I think it's so accessible, because it's suffused with beautiful storytelling, and it's accessible because it's only 90 pages long.
Yeah.
And you can read it on a train journey. I did that yesterday. And
really?
I thought it was fantastic.
Oh.
And it is suffused with wisdom.
Well, the attention span now is what? It's a matter of minutes, isn't it? You know,
Yes.
the scrolling that we do in life now.
And it's a sincere compliment, because I'm terrible at business books.
Okay.
But I loved this. So Flashpoint Transformation, Life's Choices, Ready to Jump or Waiting to be Pushed, by Christine Marsh, who we know, and there's something slightly different here, a catalyst for change and an inspirational speaker. So would you like to read, this is your moment to put it on a metaphorical plinth within the clearing as the Captain's Log supplemental.
Oh dear,
Is there a particular part or quote you'd like to read?
I think there's just something that, it's about fireflies. Now, where's that? I'm in the forest. So it must be...
Fireflies of the Mind. That was your way of landing emotional intelligence, wasn't it?
It was basically because I was well, this is up in India, and one of my memories was lying in the forest floor, and the beams were filtering, and all those little, motes or something that you see in sunlight. And I think our mind's like that. If you've got this man that jumps all over the place, how do you capture all those little sparkly bits and turn them into something of value that lasts into daylight?
And you call these fireflies of your mind, don't you?
Yeah, something like that. It's that one. The, fire is obviously a big thing in my life, but I think I've tried to put at the beginning quotes that have meant something to me. And I think the rekindling one is, I have to take a risk and jump. If I have to take a chance, otherwise I will never know what I can achieve. Christine Marsh.
Lovely.
So that's mine.
Yeah.
And if you, this one, in everyone's life, and this is very important because you've come into mine, at everyone's life, at some time, your inner flame goes out. It's then bursts into flame by an encounter with another human being. We should all be thankful for the people who rekindled the inner spark.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to say about the book?
Just if you want a copy, it's available on my website. I haven't put it on Amazon. I had a thing about Amazon, so you have to come to me if you would like a copy. It's also in audio because some people like to listen when they're driving and things like that. But it's tactile. It's a book to pick up and and dip in and out of.
Wonderful. So you can get that at thechristinemarsh.com. So again, thank you so much for listening. This has been a Captain's Log Supplemental. Dan, you'll know exactly what to do to tag this onto the end. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you for listening. We can stop broadcasting now. Goodbye.